It's time for No Pad Sports Talk. Stay tuned as two brothers bring you the latest from your Michigan teams and beyond in hockey, baseball, football, and more. Let's get started. Here are your hosts, JD and Steve.
Oh, welcome to another edition of No Pad Sports Talk. I am one of your hosts, JD.
And I'm Steve, and we are here after a 2-week break. It's not really a break. It wasn't on purpose. It's just how it happens.
Yeah.
But there has a lot has been happening. A lot has been happening in the sports world, not just, what we're going to talk about today, but in the sports world, there has been a lot going on.
Yes, indeed. And look, we try to keep things very separated. We don't like trying to combine topics, with different sports and stuff like that. So right now we're just kind of focused more on the NFL free agency because that's some big news going on right now. The free agency, the trades, a lot of players switching teams. Wow.
Retirements.
Oh my goodness. Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Instant Hall of Famer. Thanks, right. Aaron Donald. That was awesome.
I would assume he's going to be a first ballot guy. I mean,
has to be.
Right?
Has to be. Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, free agency has been open for a week. And technically, it's not even been a whole week.
Not yet, no.
Because the tampering period, as they, whatever, the time where they could actually start talking, free agents could talk to other teams and, we could negotiate.
Yeah.
Was at 4 p.m. on Monday, I believe it started. And actual free agency started at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. And holy crap, like in the first 2 days, I mean, Russell Wilson, the Steelers are getting a great deal, right? I get that Russell Wilson hasn't performed like he did when he was with the Seahawks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're only paying him like $1.2 million, right?
Right, yeah.
And that's because of his contract that he got guaranteed from Denver. And they're paying like $34 million for a player that won't even be on their team. Right? Like, how bad does Sean Payton have to not like you for them to be okay with paying over 2 years now? This is going to be 2 years, like $90 million over a 2-year period to not be on my team. That's how much I don't want you here.
Yeah.
Now, he only got a 1-year deal with Pittsburgh, and that's kind of a quick start to, because I think that happened so fast that the negotiating window opened, and then like within a few hours that was already done. I think Russ Wilson was already in Pittsburgh. He was in the building. I'm sure, or near the building when the tampering window opened. Went in, they did the things that they needed to do, and he came out with an agreement, which he couldn't officially sign until Wednesday, but he has been signed. On that same front, the Steelers then got rid of their quarterback, Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
They shipped him out to, where did he go? Holy crap. He's going to be a backup someplace.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had that in my head when I first said it, just so everybody knows, and now I totally blanked. Eagles. He's going to the Eagles, so he's staying in Philly or staying in Pennsylvania, right? And obviously after he got traded, there's stories about it. He grew up a Phillies fan. He grew up in the area. He went to Pitt. That's where he played, right? So he's a hometown kid, right? So I think it's kind of cool. He gets to play with both the hometown teams. or home state teams in his career so early, but he'll get an opportunity to back up, Hurts there in Philly. Different offense, different scheme. It may fit his talents better. You never know.
Look, I'm kind of going off a wall a little bit here, but like Philadelphia Eagles, I think, is having a pretty good offseason when you look at it as a whole.
Yeah.
One of the first moves they made, they signed Julian Okwara, of course, that, former Lion, whatever.
Former Lion. Yep.
But aside from that, right, Saquon Barkley, they got
Saquon Barkley. They let D Swift go.
Yeah, and Swift went to Minnesota?
Swift went to the Bears.
Was it Bears? Okay.
Yeah. The Bears have got better too, but we'll get there in a second.
Yeah.
But so Philly has definitely gotten better.
Because they got Saquon Barkley, Devontae Parker, Devin White. Like, they definitely have gotten a lot better.
And on both sides of the ball, I think they've done some great things there. Howie Roseman has been doing what he does, personnel wise.
Yeah, and that's scary when you think about how good the Eagles were, and then they got better. Yeah,
exactly. Now, as far as backup quarterbacks to go to Philly, a ball did finally drop in Chicago.
So I'm waiting for this one.
Yeah, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. But I thought Philly, when you think about what Jalen Hurts does and how he runs that offense, and you think about the skill set of Justin Fields, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fields needs to work on his accuracy, but I think he would have had that opportunity working behind Jalen Hurts. But I thought they have kind of similar skill sets. Not saying Fields is a Hurts, but as far as, their ability to scramble, their size, like there was a lot of similarities there. But he did not end up there. That ball did drop, and the Bears have finally traded him. And I was shocked at what the Bears got.
It was nothing.
Right? Like, and I'm going to say this, I think they shot themselves in the foot. They should have traded him before the combine, knowing they had the number 1 pick. If they knew what they wanted to do, they needed to trade him before the combine even happened. And
I agree with you. Yeah.
To maximize what they were going to get from him.
Yeah.
Because then that changes all of free agency. Right?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So, I don't know that they were ever going to get a first-round pick for Fields, but I thought they could get a second, or an early third-round pick, or a combination of maybe a couple of thirds. But they got a 6th-round pick. Not this year, next year. They didn't even get a pick for him for this year. Right? And it is a conditional pick that can be up to a 3rd-round pick. And I think that's why maybe it's a 2025 pick, knowing that Russ Wilson is supposed to be coming in as the presumptive starter in Pittsburgh.
Right.
And that gives them an opportunity to, this is 24, are we 25? I mean, there's no way Russ Wilson would have to get hurt or just play ridiculously bad.
Yeah.
Right? For Justin Fields to come in. But
as far as the permanent starter goes, you could see them doing something like New Orleans Saints does with their 2 quarterbacks, right? Like have one, kind of like for like option read type of situations, and one more of the normal quarterback. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Justin Fields has got a cannon, right? So I saw like there were times with the Colts, Jacoby Brissett when he was there, right? That they would bring him in for the Hail Mary throw. Right, because he's got such a strong arm. And I think Justin Fields has a good arm. He does. He just There's some accuracy, some touch. I think some decision making that he has to work on. But, to me, it's the same thing you see out of typically with the same thing you see out of an Ohio State quarterback when they come into the NFL. CJ Stroud being the exception to that, of course. But yeah, so that's Philly and Pittsburgh. Chicago has done a bunch. I think Chicago's gotten better.
I'd say they've gotten better, but I don't think much. Right? I don't.
Right.
I'm not really a fan of what they did, honestly, personally.
Okay.
I just so you know, like I'm not. I mean, they got 2 brand new safeties, and Jonathan Owens and Kevin Byard, and for their defense, the backside of their defense. DeAndre Swift, I look, the guy's talented, but he's going to get injured this year. I just believe that he will. That's kind of his MO. And everybody else, I don't know. Like I'm not. I mean, I think the one move they made that was good was trading for Keenan Allen. When Keenan Allen is healthy, he'll be a great compliment.
Well, even when he was hurt last year, he still he was over 1,200 yards receiving last year.
But like I said, I'm a fan of Keenan Allen, right? Like I'm not saying anything negative against him. I think that was probably the best move that they made. But everything else they've done, it just hasn't really impressed me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But we're looking at, so that's the Bears. The Packers signed Josh Jacobs, got rid of what's his face? Not AJ Dillon, the other guy.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones. Got rid of Aaron Jones, or let him go, right?
Yeah,
they've been pretty quiet. The Packers have, but Aaron Jones went and signed with somebody.
Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. So he's staying in the division. There he is. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at what Minnesota's done, there's a lot of names on this tracker for them. I mean, they signed Sam Darnold to a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
They got Aaron Jones because they don't have a quarterback. They got, the Vikings have a quarterback problem because Kirk Cousins, got another huge contract at 36 years old, 34 years old, 35 years old, whatever he is, right? This man has done nothing but bet on himself, and it has paid off, right?
Every single time, yeah.
Right? In Washington, he's like, you know what? You want to put me on a franchise tag? Fantastic. That's already more money than I was making before. I'll take it. You want to do it again? Sure, I'll do that again, right? And all he did was and then he went to the Vikings, and the Vikings gave him a fully guaranteed contract, right? And then they signed him again and extended him, and he got more big money. Like, this guy has done nothing. I don't know who his agent is, right? But Kirk Cousins and his team have done a phenomenal job when it comes to working the system. And it's ironic, he was just available at the right times where teams are really looking for veteran help. Like, it's very weird how that's happened, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not, I mean, it's luck that that's happened, but it is that it happened. And then when Atlanta signed him, they got rid of their young quarterback, Desmond Ridder. Wasn't a huge fan of Desmond Ridder because I didn't think he had while he was a 4-year starter, he showed a lot of talent, at Cincinnati. He was playing at Cincinnati. They had that one good season. Then they got, was it a bowl game? They didn't make the Final Four, the playoffs, I don't think. Did they? Either way, it doesn't matter. They didn't go very far. But he's got a good skill set, but I thought he was kind of light framed, right?
I never liked the guy. I never thought he was gonna be a good quarterback. I mentioned it before. Like, basically, stay away from that guy.
Well, there's another guy that I'd like to talk about here that I think teams should stay away from.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
It's Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I agree.
I am not a fan. Not at all. And this is not me saying he's not talented, right? But, and I guess it's okay if you're that talented and that's what you've been told all your life. It's hard not to have that arrogance about you, right? When you walk into a room and everyone's like, "Oh my God, look at it's Caleb Williams and you're the guy," and like that's if that's been his whole life. But who was talking about it? Somebody said I thought it was Michael Irvin, and no, it wasn't Michael Irvin. Deion Sanders was saying this kid's coming out of Southern California and he's going to go play in Chicago where it's cold, right? It is different playing football in the cold, right? And not like going to Minnesota where they have a dome cold,
right?
Right? Because in the NFC North, Minnesota's the only one I have. No, the Lions have a dome. But you go to Green Bay, you go to Soldier Field, those are right on the like. It's cold there. Like they call it Green Bay, it's the frozen tundra for a reason, right? Because it gets cold. So I'm not a huge fan of him. It looks like that's gonna be the Bears' pick. I would love it to be Drake May from North Carolina. To me, as a number one pick, he has talent, and I don't know. I think he's the safer bet, right? Well, excuse me. Everyone's got kind of high on Jaden Daniels as one of the top 3 quarterbacks, and I get it. The kid won a Heisman Trophy, and he did it on a team that wasn't very good coming out of LSU. Okay, so problem is that if Chicago doesn't take Caleb Williams, Washington is just going to sit there and take him because you know who their offensive coordinator is now? It's Cliff Kingsbury, who coached Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I like that either because it's Washington and they're my other team, right?
Unless Kingsbury actually knows how he is and is basically saying, no, don't draft
this is guy. Not the guy you want. Yes, he's talented, but you're going to have more issues than you do. Like I would hope that they're leaning in on him when it comes to that.
Like this was my whole take on the Caleb Williams situation, right? Like, as Caleb Williams is a guy that decided not to meet with every team because he said, there's just one Caleb Williams. Only one team could take me. I'm not going to meet with other teams because you guys won't have a chance to take me anyways, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So he's already saying he's going to be like a high draft pick. Okay, fine. Chicago Bears wants to bring you in for a physical. And they want to bring you in for a physical for a reason. Make sure you're healthy so that they can get rid of their current starting quarterback.
Correct.
And then, so this is your team, like, again, making the assumption that he's going to get drafted by Chicago, but this is the team he's, and more than likely in his mind, he knows he's going to go to, right?
Right.
So you would think that he'd want to try to help out his team as much as possible by just going to go and get a physical.
Yeah.
Because we've seen what they got for him now. You're just talking about it as far as like a draft pick goes. And we both think that they could have gotten more earlier.
Yes.
And they tried bringing Caleb Williams in as early as possible, but he refused to.
Yeah.
And so now he's refused to go into Chicago multiple times.
Yep.
Chicago didn't get a chance to trade Justin Fields because they wanted to check on Williams first, but Williams didn't. So basically, Williams screwed his own team and his players already. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
And to me, those are the major red flags. That he is not a team guy. He already thought he could get stake and like a partial ownership of a team as if he's, some like Tom Brady in the NFL or whatever. No.
Yep.
Well, don't get me wrong, they can't do that anyways. It's against the rules, but it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And then they're trying to change the rookie salary scale. Well, just for him.
Just for him.
Right. And that's not him, so to speak. It is the team of people that he has working with him, but they represent him. It is his dad. But in the end, they represent Caleb, and it's all bad.
It's not a good
to me,
look.
it's all bad, right? I don't want to go out and do my physical with Chicago until after my pro day. What are you hiding?
Right.
Right? What are you hiding? What did you do something? You trying to get it out of your system? Are you actually hurt? Which is why you didn't get you didn't even weigh in, I think, right? He didn't do nothing.
Did nothing.
Nothing at the combine.
Besides talk to the press and act as if he's,
already the number one pick. Yeah. So not a fan. And you said this in a chat when we were talking back and forth. And I agree. I've never wanted a rookie to fail as much as this guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he needs to have a Bryce Young year where it all just went bad.
I'd love for him to get a welcome to the NFL moment where he just gets clobbered. Oh. Just someone just steamrolls the guy.
Yes.
No,
so,
I'm not saying that to the point where I want him to get hurt.
No, we're not talking about injury, but it's like this is how we hit here. Expect me to be back here every play.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It is. The speed of the game is different, right? And, there was some other stuff, like his psyche, like just things that I saw on the field, things I saw on the sidelines, right? How he interacted when things weren't going well. That, to me, at that moment, before the combine even happened, I did not like this guy. This is not the guy. This is not a guy I'd want on my team, right? And I get you're young and you can mature into something, but he's not a number one pick. I'm not wasting a number one pick on a guy that we're probably not going to see play and come to fruition for 5 or 6 years, right? He's now in a second contract. Right? That's not who you waste a number one pick on. That's not. And if you want to talk about upside, I think Jaden Daniels is the guy, right?
Oh,
he has shown he can carry a team, right? He gets after it. Honestly, Michael Penix, right? You want to talk about a gamer? Like, the guy against Michigan in the national championship game, that guy went out there hurt. You could physically see he was not right. And he's like, you're not taking me out of this game. Right?
Yeah.
And while I know he didn't help his team, I love that part of him. Right? Because they're just other quarterbacks. J.J. McCarthy came in heavier than I thought he was going to. Right? I think he was closer to 215. So he had put on some weight, coming into the combine, which is great because he's going to need that, right?
Yeah.
I think when it comes to JJ, I think the Patriots are going to be a spot to be looking for.
I agree.
Because they got nobody. And why not bring in another Michigan quarterback when it worked once? Can it happen again? Can you get 20 years out of J.J. McCarthy and 6 more Super Bowls?
That'd be crazy.
I don't know. I doubt
That'd be crazy.
But wouldn't that be just amazing? Even if you got, a couple of Super Bowls and, 10 years out of the kid, right?
Yeah.
Like, just to see that happen again would be freaking awesome. So, but based on free agency, right? We had some, the Chargers were in salary cap hell, right?
Yep.
I think they were like, even with the the $50 million increase or whatever it was in the salary cap, they were still like $50 million over the cap. Right? So they had to go and they're trying to restructure. Keenan Allen left. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, they all got restructured contracts or agreed to restructure contracts to save some of that. Most of that, I think they just end up taking that money and make it signing bonus. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But Harbaugh's out there now. I'm going to be a little bit of a Chargers fan, right? I think if the Chargers can get their running game up and running again, they have a solid defense. Don't rely, like trying to throw the ball. Justin Herbert can toss it like nobody, right? He can freaking spin a ball. So if you can get him a consistent running game, a tight end, fill the voids with you're not going to replace a Keenan Allen. I mean, you can, right? But, there are just some receivers that are just going to be good, right?
Well, look, I wanted to go back real quick to Caleb Williams.
Sure.
Okay, because my biggest problem with Caleb Williams is the fact that it's what he's done while he's been in USC, and that is he is more of a check down quarterback that doesn't have a good deep ball. When he throws it, it's bad. He doesn't have touch, doesn't have accuracy. I don't believe in the guy. He makes bad decisions throwing deep too. He can sometimes get himself in trouble. Yeah. And he if you look at his throwing percentages, when you're talking about throwing on the down the middle or to his right side down the field after 10 yards, terrible. He's a little bit better throwing to his left side after that, but middle and right side, terrible. Where he completes most of his passes is on his left side between 0 and 5 yards, at the line of scrimmage on his right side, and behind the line of scrimmage on both. That's where the majority of his passes is at. And he's 112th ranked quarterback in college football in 2023. 112 when you look at how many of his passing yards came through the air, not yard after catch, right?
Yeah.
Just through the air yards. 112th ranked quarterback. So the guy is gifted physically. The guy has talent. And I just don't know two things, right? Mainly. One, if what his ability is will even translate into the NFL. And two, if it does, how many years will it take? Because I just don't see this guy being pro ready based on what I've seen from him. He doesn't make good throws, doesn't make good reads, is inconsistent, and he throws everything short. I don't know how that translates to the NFL. To me, that's a lot of red flags, especially to be a number one overall pick. Yeah. And I don't know what I'm seeing that every scout and person, except for Merrill Hodge, has said this guy is worthy of the first overall pick. He has talent that even other number one overall picks don't have. And I just don't see it. I don't know what I'm missing.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, right? And I didn't even have to look at the numbers. I was just watching game tape, right? And when you're looking at something, oh yeah, that was a good play. Yep, okay, that was a good play. Receiver might have made a great catch to make it look good, right? It's not about the throw and the delivery, right? And I mean, that's part of it. But on the other side of it, right? And that people can say, well, his receivers, most of them, the ones he was working with his Heisman year got drafted. So he had a bunch of new receivers and he was working with them. I get that. You're not going to know any of these receivers in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So if you couldn't adapt at the college level to your new receivers, and the game is going to be faster at the NFL level, right? I don't expect rookie quarterbacks to play well anyway. I don't.
No, I don't either.
Right? I don't. Their first 2 years are usually rough, right? But Justin Fields in Chicago, I don't think he ever had a chance. They didn't have anybody around him. They brought in one guy last year, right? And DJ Moore, right? And now they're bringing in all of this extra talent to support a quarterback who's going to be a young quarterback. So they're going to have a Cole Kmet as their tight end. They're going to have two really good receivers, right? DeAndre Swift is shown to be a capable running back when he was in Philly. Obviously, when he was with Detroit, he sucked because he was hurt all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we could keep him on the field, he would have been good. Right?
Yeah.
But so if depends on the DeAndre Swift that they get, do they get the Lions Swift or they get the Eagles Swift? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have those components where they can check down because Swift can catch the ball out of the backfield. Cole Kmet's going to be a big target. A tight end is always a safety net for a young quarterback. It's always
Right.
going to be, right?
Yep.
And then you have two really good veteran receivers in DJ Moore and Keenan Allen on the outside. I mean, and then if they go out and they draft, because they have the 1 and the 9, right? If it happens to fall and they get Roma Duze or from Washington, right?
Yeah.
And now they got this young receiver to bring. I mean, come on. That's something that Justin Fields didn't have in 4 years or 3 years in Chicago.
Right.
So you can't compare how well Fields did and how well Caleb's may or may not do because they didn't have the same team. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Justin Fields is the reason they won as many games as they did last year.
No, I agree. Yeah.
So, to me, I thought it was a bad thing that you keep Fields, you trade the number 1, or you take somebody else, right? Maybe you want somebody who can protect him. Maybe you take Joe Alt, right? As an offensive lineman, right? Going to be a tackle, 10 years for you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who can protect your guy, right? Or you take a receiver, Marvin Harrison. He's still available there, right? It just, to me, that's what the Bears should have done. But I'm not their executive. But as I've already said it, they've screwed this up so bad that basically they got nothing for a first-round quarterback.
Right.
They got nothing.
Yeah.
Who is still this year and next year, because I think after this year, then he's got his 5th-year option. So, they still had 2 years for this guy. With Justin Fields, that is, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Under a new regime.
Yeah.
Chicago screwed it up. Chicago screwed this up. I was listening to Michael Irvin. He was talking about it. He even said it. They screwed this up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not the only one that thinks it. So,
yeah, like I said, I just had to, finish that up because it's like that part I just want to get on the record, right? Because when we're talking about, like after the draft or whatever, like I want to make sure that I have all my thoughts out here and everything was being said. So, right or wrong, right? It's on the record. So absolutely. I just wanted to make my thoughts known on him. So that's all.
Yep. So I know that's not everybody. We kind of stuck, mostly the teams in the North, but
right.
Let's talk Lions because we haven't really talked about the Lions yet.
No, we haven't, and we obviously have to.
Yeah, I mean, and they've been sort of quiet, right? Or at least early during the first few days, there wasn't a lot happening, and then it got, they made some moves. Jonah Jackson left in free agency.
Yeah.
I think that was expected. Right?
I know I expected him to, yes.
Yeah. Like Graham Glasgow came back, which was awesome because I think that really anchors our, the front 3, right? Because he can play either guard or the center.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a great, that was a great signing to bring him back.
It is.
So hold on. Let me get back to where I was at.
Well, we had
Dan Skipper signed a deal.
Yeah. But they also who was that they had to take a pay cut? The defensive lineman. They restructured his contract to save like $2 or $3 million. That was nice to see. Because like you could tell that even though they had a lot of salary room available this year, they're still trying to make room. Because to me, it seems like, either they're preparing to start signing some of their players due for a contract, whether it's Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, something like that, or
Yep,
they're
because those
still
are coming
getting
up
ready to
next
sign
year.
someone else.
Yeah, because that's definitely coming up. I mean, that's going to be a next year deal, right? Unless they can get something before the season starts, because it's, season
Right.
doesn't kick off till late August. So,
but the three big moves that they made, as far as like not re-signing players or whatever, three big moves they made was, of course, trading for Carlton Davis from Tampa. They signed Amik Robertson from the Raiders.
They did,
and they signed DJ Reader, the big dude there, from Cincinnati. That was, to me, that's my favorite signing they've done so far. I love DJ Reader here.
Absolutely. Well, there was talk, because I know he got hurt late in the season, right? And he kind of missed some games there at the end. But he still had a phenomenal year, right? His teammates talk highly of him about the kind of leader he is. But to have a guy of his caliber sitting next, like our front four just got better.
Yeah.
Right? And we signed Marcus Davenport. Is not the Minnesota Viking edge rusher I was hoping for. Right? But I also didn't want to have to pay what he got.
$24 million a year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Marcus Davenport comes to us on a 1-year deal. He's a great, I think he's going to be a good complement. But with you get Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader, and Hutchinson, and you put Davenport on the other side, that front four, like I could see our linebacker crews, guys just eating things up now.
Yeah.
Right? Like Jack Campbell could have a freaking breakout season this year, based on the front four that he's going to have in front of him.
I mean, Davenport's a guy that, when healthy, can get you 10 sacks a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And the deal we gave him wasn't a big deal, right? I think another big signing was bringing back Dan Skipper.
I love Skipper. I'm glad he's here.
You said that you're like before they even signed. You're like, man, because I said they got Glasgow and they re-signed him, and you said something about, well, I'd really like him to keep Skipper too, and they did, right?
Yeah.
So where were the Lions weak last season?
Well, they were weak, really, defensive line as well as secondary.
Secondary, right? So they signed, they re-signed Emmanuel Mosley.
Right.
And I told you when I said, I'm like, I don't know what I got in him. Right. And I know it sucks, right? Because it's not his fault that he went down 2 seasons back-to-back ACLs on different knees, right? It's not. It just, come back your first game and then you go out with that same injury. Just pure bad luck. So I wasn't sure that, I wasn't a huge fan of that move.
Right.
Right. Not because of the player. I'm not sure what we're going to get from him. Right. And then we also got Amik Robertson, right? And Carlton Davis.
I just want to point out that he's only on a $1.1 million deal. So he's taking bare minimum. So it's really, there's no risk there.
No,
for Emmanuel Mosley.
Absolutely. Right. And those are the other parts that you have to look at, because he's still hurt. I'm hoping he's going to be somewhat ready by training camp, where he can at least do some non-contact stuff, right? Because that's a 9 to 12 month injury.
Right.
And he got hurt in November, because that's when he came back from the other one. So I want to say it was like November.
It was like the second to last game or something like that, whatever it was.
So December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August is 9 months. Right? So in theory, we could be getting him back in time for a playoff run. Right? But again, we were weak. I wasn't sure how I felt about the Carlton Davis thing, because I felt like they gave up a lot. Right? So we're getting him, and we got a 6th round pick this year, and next year a 6th round pick. So we did get 2 picks, but they're both 6 rounders.
Right.
And we gave up a 3rd rounder.
That's correct.
Right. And we had 2 thirds, I believe, right?
Yeah.
But we have nothing. You know, we already had that large gap of no picks, like 120 picks or something.
Correct.
Through the middle rounds there. And then we gave up another, middle round pick. I just, that hurt a little bit. Now, obviously, I have faith in what the administration is doing with, they've looked at guys. Carlton Davis has shown, he's an effective guy. So I think you can put him out there. He's a bigger guy.
They show that he's effective when it comes to man coverage. Zone coverage, he's just terrible in. But the man coverage, we don't really have a lot on him because he didn't really do that much man coverage in the Tampa Bay scheme. They played mainly zone.
Right.
So for me, that's where I'm still a little iffy.
Right.
Like
and his big low light against the Lions when he got trucked.
Right. Yeah. By Craig Reynolds. Yeah.
Yeah. Craig Reynolds just had, he got like beep, beep. I just ran him over. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously that's not a great thing, but in retrospect, I think it's hilarious because I love seeing guys get trucked. It's football. And when you get hit like that, like you feel it. You know you've been hit. Right? Plus it scored a touchdown. So in the end, all thing worked out for us. But yeah. We signed Michael Badgley back. I still think we need a kicker.
Yeah, we do.
And, I think the Lions are going to bring in some young guys. They might even draft a guy late, They're definitely going to bring somebody in, I think, as an unsigned free agent, undrafted free agent.
Yep.
Because we need a kicker. We need a kicker. I like the Jalen Reeves-Maybin. They got, they re-signed him.
Yeah,
I think he's a big part of the team, not just special teams, but he can come in and play some linebacker when you need him to, right?
Yeah. Speaking of linebacker, I want to throw this out there real quick. There's a linebacker that still has not been signed yet.
Okay.
That I would love for the Lions to kind of take a look at, and I don't think he's going to cost all that much. And I know a lot of people out there are just not going to agree with me on this, and I'm okay with it. But I would love for them to try to look and bring in Isaiah Simmons.
Oh. Well, isn't that a guy you had running out of the draft?
I did. Yes. Look, I know he hasn't had the best of career so far, right? Like, he hasn't. I think 2021 is probably like his best season, but still pretty bad. So like I know he's been bad, but here's where he excels in. Okay, one, he excels in coverage, and I know we have Thor, and he's done pretty well in coverage, but I like Isaiah Simmons better when it comes to a coverage linebacker. And the other thing that I like about him is his ability to go side to side. Now, he doesn't have the best instincts and the best way of reading the offense, and that's been his biggest downfall, I think. But I do trust this coaching staff. And if you look at the guys that we've had come in here, and I think at basically every position on the field, the guys have developed, like the coaching staff has developed, and I think guys are exceeding what people thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
And you can go up and down the roster and you can say that about it. And I think personally that coverage is one of the hardest things to teach a linebacker. And this guy's already a good coverage linebacker. He's got good speed, good agility, good sideline to sideline ability. I would just love to see him just given a chance on a a low contract. I don't think it's going to take much to get him here. And really, if you look at the linebacker crew, I'm not talking about him being a possible starter or anything, but
no,
I think he'd be better than some of the players we have. Yeah, I think he'd be better than some of the players we got on there right now for backup. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
And because there's a couple ways you can improve your team, right? You can improve your starters, so you're excuse me, basically improving your top end, or you can look at improving your floor. So anytime your top end guys have to come out, the drop off between them and your backups is not as much as what it could be. Yeah. So if you improve the floor, you also improve your team. Yep. And I just see Isaiah Simmons as a guy that can do that. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he's got a lot of time. He's played a lot of games.
Yeah.
Right? He has experience. So to me, that makes sense. You get him in, if you can get him on a, maybe not quite a league minimum, contract, but try to get him here. Playing for Aaron Glenn's defense. And what the pieces that we already have in place.
And I think that's what I'm talking about too, because the guy can play all over the field, right? Yeah. So, and how Simmons loved guys like, say, Brian Branch. So this guy, I think, has the ability, to kind of play in different positions. He can play in the box. He can play, in the slot. He can kind of play like a deeper safety role. And then, depending on where he's positioned, you can, then blitz with him, whatever you got to do, right? Because the guy can do a little bit of everything. And that's the role I'd use him in.
Yeah. Yeah. I like having quality backups or quality guys who can come in and give you, 20 snaps a game, but be effective in those 20 snaps a game, right? Mm-hmm. So, because, your starters got to rest. And then, like you said, you don't want your defense to drop off, your offense to drop off when you bring in a guy that, to sit, to get some air. So, and the Lions are pretty good about rotating guys in anyway.
Yeah, they are.
Right? I think last year they carried 7 defensive linemen at some point.
Yeah, they had a
they wanted to rotate. That's kind of what they want to do to keep them fresh, so that they can come at you.
Yeah.
So I think Isaiah Simmons would be a guy that could do that for us. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying, right? Not necessarily a starter, but a role player.
Definitely a role player. Well, like Reese Maven, right? He was a starting linebacker for a couple of years, and then we had some guys come in, and he slid down. But he still plays a role, even if it's just on special teams. But that's a huge role.
Yeah, it is.
Right? I mean, that's why he got a Pro Bowl.
Yep.
Right? So, it is paid off. So you come in, you just want to play. Come in and play because the Lions want you.
But anyway, I just had to throw that out there as we're talking about linebackers. So
yeah. So now that we've kind of talked about some free agency, let's just specifically talk about where you think the Lions are going to be looking to do with the 29th pick in this year's draft.
Okay. I think you have to look at the big picture of things. I think a lot of people out there are going to say Lions need to go cornerback. I think that's and I don't think they're going to, because
let's just think about the people they signed. They're all under 28, right? And if they can be effective, if they're better than what we've got, right? And we can be effective because we have let's say our front 7 gets better and they can get after the quarterback, that's going to help your back end, right? But they're young. So maybe if you wanted to in the first round, but I don't know that you'd have to get the guy you want. The guy you want would have to be there.
I don't think that the Lions value cornerbacks as highly as other teams do. Yeah. And that's okay. Look, it depends on the scheme. and and you can look at different teams that's won championships. You can look at
Sure.
say even Tampa Bay back with like
Yeah.
Warren Sapp and all that kind of stuff. Like, what did they value? As they valued the linebackers, and you got like Derek Brooks and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely.
Warren Sapp. They got after the quarterback, and they played a lot of zone. This defense, they play a lot of man, not a lot of zone, and they really want their front four to get after the quarterback. That's what they want to happen. They want to have a strong front four to get after the quarterback and drop more guys in coverage.
Correct.
So the moves to me signify, and they tell me that, look, they're not going cornerback because they don't want to invest a high draft pick in a cornerback because they don't value a cornerback. They're like what you said. They want to value getting after the quarterback, and that's where they want to put the investment in. So I believe they want to go after the best defensive end possible, like to them. Whoever their guy is, that's what they want to go after. And if that guy falls into the 20 range, I think they're going to put some sort of package together to move up and get that guy at 20, 22, whatever it is, before somebody else snags them. But I'll say this, if that guy's gone, I think they're going to trade back and try to fill in those gaps of draft picks that they currently have after trading away the 3rd round pick. They don't have a 4th round pick because that got sent to Minnesota for the Hockenson trade. So they don't have, that's where the big gap comes from. So they're going to trade back, try to collect more picks to fill in those gaps. But again, I don't think that those gaps are, I don't think they're going to, like, if they have 10 draft picks, 8 draft picks, 7 draft picks, I don't think they're drafting that many players. I think this is a draft where you can kind of see them package picks. They're going to pick less amount of players this draft than they have in previous drafts because they don't have the big holes to fill.
Right.
They're going to try to get the best players that they need in the holes they need them, which right now, as we're talking, I believe, this is not my opinion. This is my opinion, what I think the Lions think. Keep that in mind, right? They want to keep their offensive line strong, and we don't have a second guard right now, a good second starting caliber guard. So I think they're going to go after a guard at some point in the draft, and they're going to go after a defensive end. I think those are the 2 positions that they feel they really need to fill.
I agree. No, I mean, I think I'm not sure how I feel about going up in the 1st round. I mean, not too. I mean, you're talking, 5 to 9 picks, right? Because we're 29, go to 20, 29. When you're this late in the draft, even as deep as the talent is, it's got to be deep into the positions that you're looking for, right? So, like you're saying, I think there's offensive linemen to be had, right? I think they could go offensive lineman at 29. Right?
I think they could. I don't think they will, personally, but
that's there. Yeah. I like the idea of going back. I'm kind of a big fan of the way Bill Belichick did it because they were always, late 1st round picks anyway for a lot of his years. Yeah. So, why not pick up some picks, middle rounds, maybe another 2nd, like a 3rd and a 4th and a 5th, right? You got a 2nd, 4th, and a 5th for someone to move back up into the 1st round. Then you fill those holes that you're talking about. And then maybe what you do is take some of those picks, and you can package those things. Like if you want to move around in those middle rounds to get the guy that you want, that's where I like to see that movement. But, long term, I think trading out would be my first option. Unless, of course, the guy that we want. I mean, they did it last year, right? They traded, made some trades that they moved back, right? When they moved up to get the guys that they wanted because they want to make sure they were there. I'm okay with what they do, right?
Yeah.
I believe in Brad Holmes. I believe in, Dan Campbell. That's why they got their extensions. I think they were warranted. They've started to change the culture. I don't want to say they completely got it changed, right? But winning games will change your culture.
Yeah.
And we did that. And I don't care what Mike Greenberg says. He says that the Lions missed their window. I think he can kiss my butt. And he has a right to his opinion, and that's fine. But some of the things he said, I can agree with, because getting back there is not easy. That's the next step in building the culture, right? Is taking your punches, right? Knowing what that tastes like to get where you were at, and then coming back and saying, okay, we have to reset. This is not last year. This is this year. What are we going to do this year to get to that same place and make that next step, right?
Yeah.
So that is the next step in the culture shift, right? And I think if the Lions can do that, and that happens again this year, that's when I think you're going to start seeing some of these high impactful free agents like looking at the Lions and saying, I want to come play for you. Right?
Okay.
But I think trading down would be the best. I think, in my opinion, just because I hate waiting. I hate waiting on picks, right? When I do fantasy draft and I'm like the number one pick, and because they do a serpentine and it goes 1 to 10, and then 10 to 1, it's 20 picks that you're waiting, right? And that's a long time to wait when you see all your guys starting to click off the board, right? And I know it's fantasy football, but I love my fantasy football. You know, I kind of prefer picking 4, 5, 6.
So, again, I just want to put this out there, right? I know right now there's a lot of hype on Dallas Turner because, where he played at with Alabama, his combine, because obviously the guy was a workout freak when he ran a 4.4 640. Good arm length, good vertical jump, good broad. Like the guy did amazing, right? So, I'm not saying the guy's not talented, but that's not the guy I want on my team. And again, I'm going to get a lot of hate, and it's okay. It's okay. But I think the guy that fits the Lions the best is a guy Latu from UCLA.
UCLA.
Yes. And I'll tell you why. All right. It has to do with, I think he's more of a complete player. When you compare his ability to rush the passer, both of them, and his ability not just to rush the passer, but also play against the run, I think that Latu is overall better at both. Well, he may not be better at rushing the passer necessarily, but I don't think there's a huge drop off between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I think Latu is still very effective at rushing the passer. And you have to remember, Latu ran a 4.64 in his own right, which is moving. You know, the guy's 259 and 6'5", and he ran a 4.64.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but
is he edge or is he linebacker?
Yes, he's edge.
He's edge.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he is he had 15 sacks this year. Okay, out of 26 tackles, just for pass rushing snaps in general. That's it. Just pass rushing snaps. That's what he was. And he had a good pass rush win percentage, a good run defense grade. Like, the guy, I think, is a more overall complete player than Turner. And that's why, in my opinion, again, I said this last year. About the running back. I'm drawing a blank. I don't know why. For the Lions, right?
Yeah.
When
Jahmyr Gibbs.
when I said that Gibbs is a better fit for the Lions. I said Gibbs is a better fit for the Lions. Not that any other running back on the board is a bad running back. I'm not saying that at the time. And I'm not saying that here. I just think Latu is a better fit for what the Lions are trying to do, what their game plan is. Because, again, they have a plan. They have, they want their 4 guys on the line of scrimmage be able to do both. They don't want, because look at Aiden Hutchinson. He's good at rushing the passer. He's good at stopping the run. You got Liam McNeil. He was good at stopping the run early on in his career, but now he was able to rush the passer more this year. The guy they just signed, same thing. The guy is able to clog a hole running against the run, but the guy can also rush the passer. They got to get the same type of player on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson, which is Latu, in my opinion. So I think if this guy tends to fall, and gets high teens, low 20s, I think this is the player they trade up to get. Okay. I got that on the record.
Yeah. But most mocks have Latu going in first 15 picks.
That's true. But I just, again...
Now, I know they're mocks, and that's all things change because teams are looking for different players. Right.
Players fall. Because
if that's a guy that falls...
Brian Branch going in the teens as well.
I know. And he wouldn't, in the second round. So, if that's a guy that falls, right?
Yeah.
To 20, okay. I'd be all right with that.
So, and I also want to... This is why I'm loving the fact that there are so many quarterbacks that kind of are able to go in the first round, and it really just depends on how many go in the first round, how far back Latu gets pushed, and it's not necessarily just quarterbacks, but I mean offensive linemen like Joe Alt, wide receivers like Odunze. I mean, even got Brock Bowers, and then the quarterbacks in this draft are like unreal as far as like talent wise, right? Like there's so much talent that we're talking about in terms of excuse me, of where they could actually fall and go, and then there's also an argument to be said that Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, are also better than Latu. So could Latu then be pushed down because of other teams prioritizing other positions or prioritizing other players? And could Jaden Daniels sneak up in the top, like in the teens? Could Mims, a tackle, sneak up there in the teens and get in front of him? That's what I'm looking at. I think that's possible, and I'd love if that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Something like that could happen, but because we just, as analysts, and I look at you and I, we're kind of analysts. That's what we do, right?
Yes.
Right. Why we don't get paid for it, but that's what we're doing. So we're looking from an outside in, right? Saying this is the person we think is going to be the best fit for our team or this team or that team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that we're not on the inside, right?
No, not at all.
When we're not on the inside like that, nobody, you don't know what you can get. Right.
I mean, again, this is just my opinion, what I think the Lions would want. And when you look at the cornerback class, think about this for a second. This the name wise, Cooper DeJean, Kenyon Mitchell, Nate Wiggins, who had one heck of a combine, which is why he just tore up the boards there. Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry. So that's what, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 first-round draft picks as far as cornerbacks go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we've also heard analysts talk about J.J. McCarthy, how some teams have him as the second-best cornerback or quarterback in the draft. And, some might have him 4 or 5. Because, again, it only takes one team. If that one team drafting 7, 8, 9, whatever it is, like in the top 15, top 20, love J.J. McCarthy over somebody else, right? They draft their guy, J.J. McCarthy, and then all of a sudden, another quarterback that was, projected to go in the teens now falls. And that's how we can create a situation where Latu becomes available.
Yeah. Yeah. And it happens every year.
Happens every year. So, but that's my, for me, we haven't really gotten to our draft, actual specific, draft talk yet. But the guys I would want that I'm really hoping fall is Latu and Jackson Powers Johnson, the center out of Oregon. Those are two players that I really, really like, that I would love if one of them fell to the Lions, because I'd take either one of them in a heartbeat.
Yeah, well, I just did one. I'm working on a PFN mock draft right now, and Jackson Powers, he fell to us.
Well, there we go, right?
That's right. So I picked him.
Yeah, like look, we know that our center currently has some injury issues, and he's getting up there in age.
Yep, he is.
And
Glasgow's a good backup. He's there. He's available.
Yep.
But you're talking about a guy who could potentially, he's a 10-year starter.
Yes, the guy, he's good, and he can play guard. Like this.
Yeah.
This year that he was a center in 2023 for Oregon was the first year he was a full-time center. Previously, he was playing guard. So the guy can play guard. Now, he's a great center. Great center. But, like, he can play guard up until he takes over for your center position.
Correct.
That's all I'm saying.
Because we do need that guy to play on the left guard spot right now.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
So.
And then, hypothetically, if he does fall down, again, I think the draft is pretty deep for edge defenders.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can look at someone like Marshawn Nealon out of Western Michigan, Braylon Trice out of Washington. Like, those guys, I think, would be available at that point in time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you who I got in my first 3 picks.
All right.
I got Jackson Powers Johnson, Trevondre Sweat, and Marshawn Nealon. That's who I have in my first 3. And I'm waiting. Yeah. So you're naming all the guys that I've got in my draft right now. Right?
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Now I'm trying to, I'm at pick 164 and I'm trying to decide what I want.
Look, and I know Marshawn Nealon's a MAC guy, and I know he didn't go against the best competition. I get that, right? But you can only judge based on the competition that you've seen him play against. And the guy is elite when it comes to rushing the passer. He has a great ability to win against the teams that he played against, the offensive linemen he played against. Right. And so I would not hesitate to draft the guy in the 3rd round.
No. Yeah. And that's where I got him. Marshawn Nealon, I got him in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So let's see. Now we're just trying to looking at, I don't know who to take. I'm going to lose my pick.
Uh-oh.
I'll take this guy. Oregon State safety. But
at any rate,
so sorry, I'm multitasking here because it's what we do anyway. I got my brain cards. I have to be doing something. So we're look, we are already over an hour on this one, but
wow, I didn't realize that.
There's been exactly like the conversation back and forth. There's been so much in just 5 days. 5 days, everybody. And this is not even talking about the whole week that we missed, but in 5 days of football, this is what's going on. So the last thing I want to say is on March 30th, the UFL's inaugural season is going to kick off. It's the combination of the XFL and the USFL, in case you haven't heard. The Michigan Panthers are going to be playing at home at Ford Field. Grab some tickets. Go see these guys play. It's going to be a great season, and we got some spring football happening. And the cool thing is this is all happening. Unfortunately, it's happening not soon enough for them to get drafted. Some of them may have already been drafted, but these are guys that are playing for opportunities to get signed as free agents after this season and making an impact in the NFL.
Right.
Like Ray McLeod. He just got a new contract. He's not going to be with San Francisco. He got a new contract with another team this year, but I think he came out of the XFL. Yeah,
didn't the Lions sign like an edge rusher from there too? Or is it the Canadian Football League?
The Canadian Football League they got. Yeah. I forgot about that guy.
Yeah, actually, I did too. He started talking, and then I was trying to figure out. Yeah, Matthew Betts. He was Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're gonna 201.
But anyways, like that was kind of like a quick, I guess, preview in what I was thinking, in my head as far as where the Lions are going to go. And ultimately, you guys let us know how wrong I am. What do you think? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, am I? Do you think I'm nuts? Do you really think that Latu's not going to fall? Do you think that they have to go a different position? Do you really think they're going to take a cornerback? And again, I'm wrong in thinking that the Lions aren't prioritizing it. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Let us know.
Yeah, and we're gonna come back and try and get another episode out here this weekend. So we got some baseball stuff to talk about because
there's so much baseball going on, and of course, I love my baseball. So
that's right.
And this is a cool thing they're doing this year too, by allowing a lot of the prospects to play, and we'll talk about that because I just think that's been awesome.
Yeah, yep. I saw the box score for that, so it looked pretty good for the Tigers.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. Tune in, appreciate it, like, subscribe, all that cool stuff, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yep, take care, everybody.
Thanks for listening to No Pads Sports Talk. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at No Pads Sports Talk.